Vladimir Putin has described his operation in the Ukrainian port of Mariupol as a success. The city is under Russian control, apart from a steel plant where around 2,000 Ukrainian fighters are still holed up. Mariupol is at the southernmost edge of a region known as the Donbass, and gaining full control of the port city would allow Russia to move troops and supplies northwards from down here in the Crimea, which they've already taken. That would help Russia's objective of extending its control over the whole Donbass region. So the steelworks, known as the Azovstal steelworks, which are a massive industrial plant in Mariupol, have been the last centre of Ukrainian resistance in the city, as Simon Jones reports.
Much of Mariupol has been destroyed by weeks of relentless Russian bombardment. Some civilians have been able to leave the city, but the evacuation didn't go according to plan. It was hoped several thousand would be allowed out. In the end, the number was far fewer. Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister said an exit corridor didn't work properly, accusing Russia of a lack of control over its troops.
We need a break after the shelling, after all this nightmare. We've been hiding in basements for 30 days.
Ukrainian officials say they are ready to travel to Mariupol for talks on the evacuation of further civilians and military personnel.
The situation in the east and south of our country remains as severe as possible. The occupiers won't give up trying to gain at least some victory for themselves through a new, large-scale offensive.
It's too late for Vanda Obietkova. The 91-year-old survived the Nazi occupation of Mariupol in the Second World War. Ukraine's foreign ministry said she died earlier this month in a basement, freezing, pleading for water. Russia has released this footage, which it says shows the successful test flight of a new intercontinental ballistic missile capable of carrying nuclear warheads. President Putin said it would make those who threaten his country think twice. But any negotiations with the Kremlin are doomed to failure, according to Boris Johnson, who says dealing with the Russian president is like bargaining with a crocodile when it's got your legs in its jaws. So the fighting continues. The US president has paid tribute to the Ukrainian people resisting the onslaught.
And I knew they were tough and proud, but I tell you what, they're tougher and more proud than I thought. I'm amazed what they're doing with your help.
He said more weapons and ammunition were getting through to the Ukrainian army, but there are fierce fights ahead in a war in which there is no end in sight. Simon Jones, BBC News.
Well, our correspondent in the west of Ukraine, Lviv, is Joe Inwood. And he gave us the very latest about what President Putin has said on Mariupol.
Well, in the last few minutes, it's emerged that President Putin has orders his troops not to storm the Azovstal steel plant. That's the place, as you were saying earlier, where the last Ukrainian defenders of Mariupol are holed up, and we were expecting a really bloody battle to take it. The defenders there are outnumbered 10-1. They were speaking to the BBC yesterday and saying that they were on their last days, if not hours. They're running short of food and ammo. But President Putin has said they don't need to storm the plant now, and instead they can seal it off. So what we're moving from, is an all-out assault to something of a siege. Now, exactly what this is going to do to the dynamics in the rest of the country, well, that's going to be really crucial. It had been said that Russia needed to take Mariupol so it could remove troops from there and continue its assault in the east of the country, in the Donbass. Now, if they're not going to fully take the city, but simply put parts of it under a state of siege, can they withdraw those troops? What happens if they do? So this is a significant development in the conflict, the implications of which are going to be really crucial over the next coming weeks.
OK, we'll get reaction to those President Putin claims in a moment. What about the people, the civilians? About over 100,000 are still in the city of Mariupol, and there are reportedly up to 1,000 people actually in the steel plant as well.
Yeah, we understand a lot of those people are the families and friends of the soldiers who are fighting there. There had been requests to have a humanitarian corridor to get them out. Yesterday, there was talk from a wider city of getting up to 6,000 people out via humanitarian corridors. In the end, 4 buses made it out. That's it. So nothing close to the numbers who would like to leave. Those would be civilians, women, children, the elderly. They're on their way to a town called Zaporizhia now, which is inside Ukrainian territory just south of Dnipro. If we're going to see the full humanitarian corridor that's been requested, demanded indeed, by the Deputy Prime Minister of Ukraine, well, we'll find out. They've said they are open to negotiations without preconditions, but we've heard that before, and it's failed to materialise before.
Well, as Joe said, President Putin has been talking about Mariupol. Let's have a listen.
I consider the proposed storming of the industrial zone unnecessary. I order you to cancel it. This is a case where we must think especially about preserving the lives and health of our soldiers and officers. There's no need to climb into these catacombs and crawl underground through these industrial facilities. Block off this industrial area so that even a fly cannot escape. Once again, invite all those who have not yet laid down their arms to do so. The Russian side guarantees their lives and their dignified treatment. Of course, taking control of such an important centre in the south as Mariupol is a success. Congratulations to you.
I've been talking to General Sir Richard Barrons. He's formerly one of the British Army's most senior commanders, and he gave us this assessment about the latest developments.
I think we should recognise that the battle for Mariupol in a military sense was coming to a conclusion where the Ukrainian defenders in the steelworks were going to be really, really difficult to defeat at enormous cost actually to both sides. But that defence was no longer really relevant to who controls the city and the roads that run through the city that now connect Russia through the coast to Crimea. And we should recognise that we're on the eve of the Russian Orthodox Easter, so today's announcement allows President Putin to announce some success, and it is genuine success from a Russian perspective on the eve of this religious festival, and it allows the military to not expend much more resource on a battle for the steelworks, which was militarily irrelevant, but to turn for what really matters now, which is the battle for the Donbass.
Okay, so